I welcome this opportunity to talk with you about things which are of great mutual interest to us as members of the National Federation of Federal Employees and as employees in the service of the people and government of the United States. It is my pleasure to know personally many members of the NFFE, and some of them may be now within the sound of my voice. I look forward to meeting all of you in the months ahead, all of the fine men and women who are joined together in the work and program of the National Federation of Federal Employees. That work and that program are deserving of our best united efforts. The objectives of the NFFE may be summed up in this way: a better government service, a better, more fruitful career for every federal employee. Now, the NFFE has made some specific and practical proposals to gain these objectives. Basic to everything else is the merit principle. The NFFE always has recognized that the primary essential is a career system built upon merit. Without that, there can be no real efficiency, no real security, no real progress, either for the service or for the employee. For that reason, the NFFE continues to be in the forefront of the battle to extend and strengthen the career service. It is our objective to bring about extension of the merit system to include all positions, except those relatively few which are truly policy-making and confidential. Now, some recent progress has been made in this direction. Some positions, notably those overseas, which were formally accepted, now are included in the career service. But unfortunately, that is not the whole picture by any means. There have been serious exemptions from the career service, and it is utterly naive to suppose that political clearance has not operated in the filling of many thousands of positions. Also, personal and other forms of patronage persist, in a measure far beyond what we and others interested in good government can view with any degree of satisfaction. Especially disturbing has been the removal of some top-level positions to which career employees had advanced on the basis of merit alone, plus the present threat of still more removals. Thus, we have had a situation in which the employee actually was penalized for showing precisely that kind of initiative and quality of leadership so long and so universally regarded as desirable in public employees. This is a fundamental issue. It is vital to you as federal employees. It is of paramount interest to the American people. Recent events prove once again that we can never afford to let down in our efforts to strengthen the merit system. Now, I know that all of you are deeply interested in what the NFFE is doing on what might be called the pay front. Well, we're doing a great deal as regards both classified and wage board employees. The NFFE is sponsoring legislation to increase pay and revise the Classification Act. This legislation has been introduced in both Senate and House. In the Senate, it has been introduced by Senator Owen D. Johnston, who is chairman of the Post Office and Civil Service Committee, for himself and Senator Newberger of Oregon. This bill, let me emphasize, is the NFFE bill, based upon recommendations made by the NFFE and conforming to the objectives set by National Convention resolutions. It is this bill that is generally regarded in Washington as being the key piece of pay and classification legislation in the present session of the Congress. It is S734, and it provides sorely needed increases in pay and important changes in the Classification Act. Changes designed to provide more equitable classification, a better promotional line, and greater rewards for efficient performance on the job. The provisions of this measure reflect the statesmanlike approach of the NFFE. We are seeking not simply stopgap steps, although we are fully aware of the imperative, urgent need for prompt action to increase the purchasing power of federal employees, but we are striving for long-range improvements in the Classification Act, which will make for better administration and for greater recognition of the employees serving their government faithfully. NFFE members may take pride in the fact that this bill, incorporating so many worthwhile features, has gained responsible endorsement on Capitol Hill. Here again is the most convincing proof of what NFFE leadership means in the most practical terms. The NFFE's program with respect to wage board employees is receiving equally earnest effort. This is a broad-gauged program with three principal features. For greater uniformity, which in turn will mean greater equity, higher morale, increased efficiency in all directions, we are seeking establishment of a single wage board system. At the same time, we are strongly urging the enactment of legislation which will give longevity pay increases to wage board employees. Also, in order to cut the present time lag in making wage board adjustments, we say such adjustments should be made effective at the earliest possible date after the wage survey has been ordered. Legislation to secure each of these objectives has been introduced, and enactment is being vigorously sought by the NFFE. Now let us look at the situation regarding health and medical insurance. As you know, the NFFE has been a pioneer in its effort to secure the enactment of a long-needed health and medical insurance program. At the last session of Congress, a measure was introduced and hearings were held. Unfortunately, differences of approach, plus the circulation of a considerable amount of misleading information, stalemated action. There are a number of positive factors now operating. The President of the United States, in his budget message, specifically mentioned this program and recommended enactment of legislation by the Congress. In the Congress, there is widespread support for such legislation. Of very substantial importance also is the fact that the Comptroller General of the United States has stated in a report to Congress that payroll deductions for a health and medical insurance program are perfectly feasible. The position of the NFFE is clear and logical. We seek the most comprehensive program it is possible to achieve at this time. We want to get a system which will give maximum protection to the employees and their families. However, as practical people, we know from long experience that in such situations it is above all vital to make a beginning. No piece of legislation, and especially no legislation breaking new ground, fulfills all of the goals of its sponsors at its inception. I call your attention to the federal retirement system, the best of its kind anywhere. That system, put on the statute books by NFFE effort in 19 and 20, has been vastly improved by successive amendments over the past 37 years and is still in the process of revision and betterment. The NFFE would have been short-sighted indeed if it had held out arbitrarily in 1920 for the kind of a retirement system that we have today. So, too, it would be a short-sighted disservice to federal employees and their families if we fail to see the importance of making a start on a health and medical insurance program and then going on from there to make that program better, broader, more liberal, and more useful. I mentioned the retirement system a moment ago. As you know, the NFFE was responsible for many of the splendid features of the Johnston Retirement Law enacted at the last session of Congress. In many respects, that law was the capstone of our 40-year campaign to give the Federal Service the world's finest public employee retirement system. Nevertheless, there still remain areas in which the law requires improvement. Certain employees who were not benefited should in all justice be taken care of by amendments at this session. Also, dependents of annuitants should be given greater protection. And the need for increasing the annuities of annuitants already on the rolls is self-evident. Many of these former employees, aged and often ill, are suffering severe hardships because their fixed incomes are so seriously inadequate. In this connection, we feel that retirement income should not be subject to federal income tax. There are, of course, many other objectives toward the accomplishment of which we are earnestly bending our efforts. For example, as you all know, the restrictive provisions of the Whitten Rider on promotions still are being widely felt. We are seeking repeal of the Whitten Rider in its entirety. In the reduction which has taken place over the years in annual and sick leave privileges, employees have been penalized unfairly, and the loss places the federal government behind most business and industry in the matter of leave. We are working for full restoration. True overtime at full time and a half for all federal employees likewise is high on our agenda. An important long-range objective of the NFFE is the shorter work week without reduction in pay. A 35-hour week, 7-hour day is by no means a utopian proposal. It is already here in some private industry, and now there is a bill in the Senate which, if enacted, would establish the shorter work week for the federal government. The bill has been introduced to permit exploratory hearings, although no one foresees its adoption at this session. But it is significant that thinking is beginning to trend in this direction, that this thinking is being crystallized into definite legislative form, and that the whole concept is getting more and more serious attention. And now, if I may, I'd like to turn to several other matters which are of interest and importance to us. I have mentioned our 40 years of experience. That is literally true. This year, on September 17th, the NFFE marks the 40th anniversary of its founding. I'm not going to take your time now to recount the record of those years. Most of you, I am sure, know it well, and with me, you share immense pride in it. It is well, however, for all of us to recall how far the Federal Service has come in the past 40 years, how vastly the conditions of employment of federal employees have been improved, and to recall the great part played by the NFFE in achieving those gains. Out of the deliberations and the proposals and the action of intelligent, forward-looking federal employees making their influence felt through the NFFE, has come today's progress. It is also fitting, then, that the National Executive Council has approved plans both for anniversary celebrations by our locals in their respective communities to mark the September 17th founding date and for 40th anniversary membership campaigns. I do hope all members will participate in the membership campaigns. I cannot emphasize too strongly the continuing need for building membership as a means to greater organization strength. At the same time, I hasten to say that I have been inspired and encouraged by the splendid membership work now being done by so many locals. Literally hundreds of locals already are embarked upon campaigns, and the results reveal graphically what can be done by well-organized effort consistently pursued. A huge amount of promotional material has been flowing from national headquarters to aid in these campaigns. All members who are giving of their time and energy to help to build an ever-strengthening organization are deserving of our warmest thanks and commendations. There is no more essential job than this, and you may be sure that we will do everything possible to further energize and sustain this work. There are many other things that I would like to discuss with you, but with your indulgence, I will close upon a more personal note. The presidency of the National Federation of Federal Employees is at once a great honor, a solemn trust, and a heavy responsibility. My predecessors in office, Luther C. Stewart and Michael E. Markwood, with both of whom I was associated in the work of the NFFE for so many years, have set high standards of vigorous and constructive leadership. The accomplishments of the NFFE, its prestige and reputation, are without equal in our field. It is my firm purpose to continue and, wherever possible, extend and broaden those plans and programs and policies which have brought the NFFE to its present position of recognized leadership and which give to NFFE members service unmatched by any organization anywhere. As a member of the Executive Council for some 20 years, I have been in close touch with the work of the national organization. I am fully aware of the responsibilities involved, the extent and complexity of the duties, the large volume of work, and the difficult decisions which frequently, often daily, face the resident national officers and staff of our organization. At the same time, I am also aware of the strength of the support which is given so freely, so unselfishly, and in such abundant measure to those whom the National Federation of Federal Employees chooses as its leaders. That strength and support comes to them from two principal sources: the officers and members of our organization in all parts of the world, and from our loyal and highly competent national headquarters staff. From my long contact with the members of the NFFE, I know how strengthening their goodwill, their cooperation, their ungrudging support can be. Equally, I also know how well the officers and members of our organization are served by the national headquarters staff, trained specialists in the many vitally important phases of the NFFE program. Working together as a team, we of the NFFE can go forward to further great progress legislatively, administratively, and organizationally. The spirit of unity, the inspiration of initiative and enterprise, the determination to attain our goals, all of these elements now animate our organization everywhere, and they are the best portents of our continuing success. I've been happy of this opportunity to say these things to you now, to bespeak your continuing support and cooperation for the accomplishment of our objectives. And again I express the hope that in the not too distant future I shall be able to meet and greet each of you personally in the fellowship and the service which is the National Federation of Federal Employees.